They thought me getting a job would make things easier for them? I retorted, incredulously. I have been paying their bills for the last couple of years, Alex. I have helped pay off several loans, renovate the property, and even help Ryan out more times than I care to. I have tried to do everything possible to help, and somehow I'm still not doing enough. I understand, Alex replied in a quieter tone. But, look, you need to get it. They are quite proud. Seeking help was not something they were willing to do. But when they realized how much you were willing to do, it has just sort of become a routine for them. They expected it. They got lazy. Allowing myself to sink further back into my chair, I felt his words wash over me. They got lazy. That's what I had been to them. Lazy. A safety net that prevented them from very badly managing their own lives. The more aid I extended, the higher their demands became. Why didn't you speak up? I asked. Why didn't you tell me this was happening for years? Alex let out a sigh while pushing his hand through his hair. Because I did not want to get stuck in the middle. I didn't want to anger anyone. Mom and Dad, they have a way of making you feel deeply guilty, you know? They have always been like that. And Ryan, well, you know Ryan. He never accepted blame for anything. It was painful words for me to hear. Knowing the truth, our parents did have a knack for manipulating others and their emotions in order to get what they wanted was probably the darkest. But the fact that Alex admits it, hearing him recognize all this makes it more real. I spoke in a softer voice. Why are you telling me this now? After staring down at the table for a while, Alex responds, things have gotten much worse. After you cut them off, they struggled more than they wanted to admit. And now, they're desperate. That's why they sent me. I felt my heart sink with his response. Of course it wasn't about repairing our relationship. And it certainly wasn't about acknowledging the harm they'd done, or the way they had treated me. It was about money. No, it was always about money. Alex, I told him, my voice trembling. I can't keep doing this. I can't be the savior every time. I've given them everything I could, and it was never enough. They don't see me as their daughter anymore. They see me as their ATM. I know, he whispered, his voice heavy with emotion. I know, but they're your parents, and they're in trouble. What are you supposed to do? Walk away. I didn't have an answer for him, mainly because I didn't know what to do. Every inch of me yelled, begging to protect myself and keep the boundaries I established. But even as I think that, why I am their family kept reminding me. I'll think about it, I said finally, but am not making any promises. I let out a long exhale, feeling heavy with exhaustion. Alex nodded, looking relieved but also guilty. He knew I was on the edge, torn between a girl who had a family and one that is a daughter to a dutiful person. When I left the cafe that day, I felt more conflicted than ever. I poured years of hard work into trying to keep my family together both emotionally and financially, but at what cost? Was it really worth sacrificing my personal well-being for others? Do I owe it to myself to finally let go and prioritize self-care? It felt as if my family's dependence on me was a blanket that was slowly suffocating me, the feeling pressing down on me as I drove back home. The following days felt a whirlwind of turmoil. I felt myriad emotions, guilt, anger, sadness, and you name it. My parents constantly occupied my thoughts, and my head felt as if it was going to explode. Struggling to come to terms with the question, how did we go from family that was absolutely supportive of each other to a toxic mess where everyone has loads of unfulfilled expectations residing in their heads? Each time I tried to busy myself with work, it was rather unproductive because the moment I sat on my desk, my thoughts drifted towards my conversation with Alex. What do I do? If I help, I know it will be money requests on an endless loop. Guilt trips during time of hesitation and appreciation will be nowhere in sight. But what about if I don't help? What then? Am I seriously capable of abandoning everything that makes me me? Do I really want to live with my family struggling while I stand idly by, as if I have done all I could? Most importantly, what happens now? The internal fragmentation is brutal. Realistically speaking, my self-worth is intertwined with love, and that in essence makes me. The battle that follows is wanting to provide that love, but not being able to afford the cost to my individuality. I knew my role and responsibilities, but this time, I no longer wanted to be the one cleaning other people's messes. I felt unsure if I even knew how to go about living my life. One day, I was home alone when I received a buzzing notification on my phone. It was a text from Alex. My parents want to meet with you. They are prepared to talk. At the very least, you should hear them out because they are missing you. My heart was pounding, and I clenched my fists while looking at the screen. Why hadn't they reached out for so long? I felt let down, but not shocked. They had chosen to cut me off without a shred of consideration. After all, what did I expect? The conversation wasn't about reconciliation. They wanted something from me, yet again. After all, how much more guilt, manipulation, and unwavering expectations was I willing to endure? Even with the endless possibilities of feeling guilt out, I knew a small piece of me imagined a fairy tale like belongingness with a family who once cared about me deeply. I took a deep breath and felt my lungs fill with air while trying to focus on the decision I had to face. Was it the right choice to speak to them? The words from Alex lingered in my head for days. My parents wanted me to meet. I was hesitant. I felt like it was a setup. At the same time, however, I wanted to see them too. I was missing them and the family we once were before money got in the way. Perhaps hearing them out was the chance I needed, or perhaps it could just be another manipulation tactic. Only time would tell. I told myself to set boundaries and claimed to be ready to step out if things turned ugly. It was easier said than done. While I was driving to my parents' house, nostalgic memories came running to me. From holiday gatherings to family dinners, this house served as a vessel for love and laughter, yet today it feels like a ground zero for manipulation. When I arrived, Alex was already here, sitting on the porch. "Thanks for coming," he said to me with a nervous smile. After he saw my car, he donned a cautious smile and fidgeted with his phone. I nodded and clenched my fists together as I felt a knot tighten in my throat. Let's get this over with. Each step toward the front door felt heavy. I felt as though I was carrying years' worth of unfinished business. Once I stepped inside, the lingering aroma of my mother's cooking hit me like a wave, reminding me of family gatherings and Sunday dinners. This time, however, it was different. It was marred by all that had transpired. My parents were waiting anxiously for me in the living room. My mom, Kara, was seated on the couch, with her hands on her lap, looking as though she were deep in thought. My father, Stephen, was standing near the fireplace and also looked tense. When I walked in, both my parents looked at me, but neither of them spoke. This was a very tense moment filled with silence. After a few moments, my mother spoke first. "Thank you for coming, Emily," she said gently. Her demeanor was accompanied by the guilt that I have become so familiar with. "We've missed you." At this stage, I was still standing since I had no interest in sitting down. "You missed me? Or you missed my money?" I asked. The room went dead silent. There was no arguing that what I had just said was very insulting. My mother looked sullen, while my father rubbed his temples and let out a large sigh. "It's not like that," he said, in a softer tone. "I am not supposed to sympathize with your emotions," I retorted, my feelings all the way out. Because during our last conversation, I was brutally cut off during the part where I said I wouldn't give you any more money. Since then, you haven't reached out. Not a single word. My sincerest apologies if I find it hard to believe this is about anything other than you somehow wanting something. My father remained quiet, but mother chose to look upon her hands while dad locked eyes with me in a very stern way. "We've been struggling, Emily," he said. "You know that. Ever since the recession, life has been hard for us, and with Ryan being unemployed lately, we're pretty much in a crippled state. Still, remember we are your family too. You do not just abandon your family when things get difficult." I clenched my fists. I could feel my anger bubbling like lava, Virginia. "I have grown tired of this. You are old and wise, so I shall no longer question any things you put out mentality." All the set phrases people around me keep repeating went out the window, and I truly started actively speaking up. I even covered accounts your dad's name was in debt and covered Ryan's trouble more times than I can miserably count. I spent every last dime I had, and all of it put together was never enough. And the one time I blatantly said no, you cut me off the conversation like I didn't matter. Her tears struggled to catch up with me and her sobs let her speak. "We didn't mean to hurt you, Emily. We just didn't know what else to do. You asked me for help, and we provided it without question. And when you said no, it felt like you were abandoning us." I inhaled, attempting to calm myself. "I was not abandoning you. I was looking after myself. You can't treat me like a piggy bank. I'm your daughter, not that. I did everything possible to save myself." After a moment of silence, Alex said, "They've realized that, Emily. That's why we are here. They understand they have been taking too much from you and want to make amends." "With what?" I asked bluntly. "It's exactly like I feel. It is very easy to say, but not easy to do what they want to do. It happens to few people, including me, that they have come here seeking something again." My father weakly nodded. "Yes, but we do have a lot of ways through which you will have to assist us," he agreed, his voice barely a whisper. Even so, he didn't want to admit it. "We do want to repair our bonds. We look forward to having you in our life. Your mother and I have been trying to figure out how this whole thing could work out without burdening you. We understand we set unreasonable expectations and changes are something we are ready to make." "I still don't believe you," I said, uncrossing my arms. "What would that look like?" My father looked at my mother and then returned his gaze to me. "We have considered selling the house and moving. We can't live shackled to you anymore. We must make changes to better manage our finances. We have spoken to financial planners to help us without debt. We realize we have been relying on you for too much." His words brought me a small glimmer of hope, but I was not inclined to believe them yet. "And Ryan," I started speaking and my tone got sharper, "because he has been one of the biggest drains on me. Every time he screws up, I have to clean up the mess." My mother finally spoke, but her tone grasped the surface of the sound barrier. Ryan has been trying to get a job. He knows he cannot keep bothering you. We have told him that. He is attempting, Emily. I promise. I wanted to believe all of them. I wanted to have the confidence that means tried to explain the reality was on a completely different path, that they were going to turn 180 degrees and do something about it. But I had received unkept promises before. I felt like I was handed an empty card, and no amount of pitch-black darkness behind the veil of the card would help me visualize hope. For the first time, I felt a glimpse of appreciation for everything around me. But the painful reality stung me so hard that my trust came with a lot of shadows hiding behind deeply rooted anger for constantly being let down throughout my past. Look, I need to know that this is real. I don't think anyone takes empty promises lightly, do they? I said, trying to contain my anguish-filled trembling. If I were to help you again, it would have to be completely different this time around. I cannot bear the burden of sacrificing my happiness just so you don't sink. I need limits, and I need you to follow them. My father nodded. His expression was earnest. We understand. We will respect your boundaries, Emily. Losing you again is not something we want. I directed my gaze towards my mother, who wiped tears off her face. We're sorry, she whispered. We really are. I stood there for what seemed like an eternity, weighing my options. A part of me wished to walk off and break free from the cycle of guilt and manipulation, but the side that still mourned the loss of our family wanted to give them one final chance. I'll provide assistance, I responded decisively, but only on my terms this time. No more guilt trips. No more harassing me for cash. This is how it will work. I'll help you stand up again, but you must take it from there. All my father did was nod and look solemn. We understand. And just like that, the burden on my back got lighter, to a degree. It wasn't perfect, and I knew there would be difficulties to navigate, but for the first time in a long time, I felt as if I had some semblance of control over my own life. In this last round, I had drawn lines, and my family had agreed to set foot inside those lines. Whether they actually followed through on their promises was another question altogether, but either way, I had made my decision. As I left my parents' house that day, I could sense hope, but again, a strange mix of reliance. My optimism is that maybe this is the start of some we can hope for. Or perhaps it was just a temporary excuse to relax before the game cycle started all over again. Either way, I came to realize one thing. This time around, I won't forget to take care of myself through the whole endeavor.